Hello health champions. What are the top 10 healthiest vegetables that you can eat? Well, number 10 on the list is garlic. Garlic has been used for thousands of years because of its very broad medicinal properties, and to this day a lot of people will eat extra garlic whenever they need an immune boost, and I certainly eat a lot of garlic, not necessarily for those reasons, but I just love garlic, and there's a compound in garlic called allicin that gives garlic its characteristics, the smell and the taste, but also a lot of its health benefits. But allicin is only one of 33 sulfur-containing compounds in garlic. And a lot of plant food, a lot of vegetables that are known to give health benefits and people reverse diseases like multiple sclerosis. That's because they choose vegetables that are very often high in these sulfur compounds. And one more compound is called cysteine, and if you've heard of N-acetylcysteine or NAC, which is a very popular supplement, it is because this cysteine gets converted into glutathione, which is the body's #1 antioxidant and one of the main ways to detoxify and clean the body. Of course, garlic also has a bunch of vitamins and minerals, but again, you're not going to eat pounds worth of the stuff, so you're probably not going to rely on garlic for that. But like I mentioned, the biggest reason I eat it is that it's delicious. I put garlic in just about everything, and you can eat it raw or cooked. Now, a lot of people will prefer it cooked because they can eat more and it's a little milder, but the allicin is mostly active when the garlic is fresh and undisturbed and raw. So it might be a good idea to eat some raw and some cooked. And then of course there are some side effects to garlic, namely body odor, but it also has been known to keep away vampires and mosquitoes. Number 9 is onion, which is in the same family as garlic. They contain sulfur, cysteine that gets converted to glutathione. They both have lots of vitamins and minerals, and that's one of the main reasons we want to eat plenty of vegetables, is vitamins and minerals, especially minerals we get primarily from large amounts of vegetables, we get primarily from large amounts of vegetables. Onion has about 7.5 grams of carbohydrate net carbs per 100, so that's the highest amount of carbs of any vegetable I've included on the top 10. And why do we want to limit carbohydrate? It depends on how sensitive you are. How carbohydrate sensitive? Most people today, especially if you're overweight, have a carbohydrate intolerance. They have poor metabolic health. They've overdone carbohydrates, so their bodies don't handle them anymore. And the solution to a lot of people's problem is a low-carb diet. So there are different forms of carbohydrates, like short to medium-sized carbohydrates and polyols, which are sugar alcohols, and onion and garlic has a lot of fructooligosaccharides, and the body doesn't absorb those very much. And if you don't absorb them, then they go down and they become food for the bacteria in the small intestine. So if you think that might be an issue, read up a little bit on SIBO and you can look for FODMAP. And they list out the things that have high amounts of these carbohydrates that you don't do so well with. Also, I included my taste preference. What do I personally like and what do I know what to do with them? Which ones do I know how to cook? But also something called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. So from time to time they measure the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, which means they measure how much chemicals, how much pesticides they find on the finished produce. Now here's one of my pet peeve terms: organic versus conventional, because that makes it sound like there's been a conventional way of doing this for the longest time. This is how we do things, and then it makes it sound like organic is the exception. Well, that's not how it works. Organic is how the planet has been for as long as it's been around. We haven't added pesticides and poison, whereas conventional is what we've done for a few decades by spraying poison on the food. So when I see this in a store, organic versus conventional, I'm thinking they should call it conventional and poison. That's more true to what's actually going on. But anyway, the Clean 15 are the ones that they find the least pesticides on, and that would be avocado, onion, eggplant, and asparagus, so that's good too. Know that if it's a money matter, if you're holding back on vegetables because you feel like organic is too much money, then these would be the perfect ones that you can buy that don't necessarily have to be organic. Also, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, and mushrooms, they barely found any or very little pesticides compared to the Dirty Dozen, and those included spinach, kale, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes. So to the extent that you eat these, you want to be really sure this is where it's worth spending a little extra money on getting the organic. Number 6 is cabbage, and it's so useful in many ways. And what I like is it's cheap. And what I like is it's cheap. I don't know any food that is really cheaper that for a few cents you can get yourself a meal. Basically, it is also part of the cruciferous family, so it does help the liver clean things out. It's full of vitamins and minerals, and especially vitamin C. It's very high, so when people think that they have to eat fruit and oranges and drink orange juice in the morning to get their vitamin C, you're much better off having some cabbage. And also, there's so many ways of using cabbage. You can eat it raw, you can eat it cooked, you can make coleslaw, and of course, when you do the coleslaw, you don't want to add a bunch of sugar. There's some super easy recipes. You just drizzle a tiny bit of olive oil, a little bit of vinegar, salt, pepper, and some herbs like basil, and you get yourself a fantastic salad. And of course, when we think about cabbage and other vegetables as well, we want to think about the biome, the microflora, the collection of 40 trillion life forms in your gut that help keep you healthy, and part of what feeds them is fiber. So when you eat things that have carbohydrate, you subtract the fiber because you can't digest it. The fiber continues down to feed your bacteria, and it's not an absolute rule, but pretty much the fiber feeds the bacteria that you want to keep in there, and the sugar feeds the bacteria that you don't want. So when you eat a lot of sugar and not so much fiber, that's one of the main things that create dysbiosis or an imbalance in your flora. And now if you ferment these vegetables, not only do they provide the fiber, but they also come preloaded with some bacteria, some probiotics, if you will. And of course, cabbage is one of the most popular things to ferment and turn into sauerkraut. But there's all kinds of different vegetables that you can ferment, and basically the more of the fermented you eat, the better you're going to be able to support that biome. Now, one of the most common questions I get are about probiotics. Of potassium, but so low in carbs, and you can turn it into sort of mashed cauliflower as a substitute for potatoes. Riced cauliflower, you can steam it, you can bake it in the oven, and it's easy to eat a good bit. You could easily eat 300 to 400 grams, and there you probably get almost half of the potassium that you need in a day. But I have to mention also one of my pet peeves. It is when they say made with. So cauliflower has become so popular now with low carb, and low carb is just flooding the world with all these recipes, and products are supposedly keto, so then now they start to throw cauliflower and it says made with cauliflower. And somebody figured out how to make a cauliflower pizza bottom. So sure enough, all these manufacturers start making pizza crusts with cauliflower. And it says made with cauliflower. But what they don't tell people is 90% of it is still something else, and most of it is some other form of starch. So if you look for these things and you read the fine print, you see these pizza crusts that says cauliflower pizza crust, and it has just as much carbs as the regular ones made with wheat flour. And also, when I get eggplant, I make sure it's organic, because almost all of the eggplant out there is genetically modified. And the same goes for zucchini. And now we're in the medal rounds. Number 3 is broccoli. It has tons of nutrients. It is cruciferous. It's in that family. It has only 4% net carbohydrate. And I love it because it's so easy. It's so tasty. You steam it, you grill it. One of my pet peeves though is if you go and you look out the benefits of broccoli or the benefits of lots and lots of these different plant foods, is that they're presented wrong. They say that you can use it to treat things. Now, treat is a medical word. They say you can treat cancer. You can treat cancer. In the medical world, they treat things by giving medication. And what that does is it suppresses and interferes. It acts by stopping physiology. It works by getting in the way of what the body is trying to do. That's not what food does. Food does not treat conditions. Food does not treat symptoms or disease. Food supports the body by providing what it needs. So when they say it treats cancer, it treats osteoporosis, it treats diabetes, it treats aging, that is not what it does. The proper food provides something that the body needs, and when the body can return to balance, then all of these things get better. That's how it works. So we're getting the wrong idea, and when we pinpoint and we microanalyze and take things apart, this whole food business just becomes too confusing. It is all about health. Health is when everything works, when the body is allowed to return to balance, when it has what it needs, when we give it the things it has to have that moves us toward health. When we provide too much of the things that interfere, or an imbalance of things that moves us away from health. All right, but we're not treating anything with food. That's the wrong way of seeing, and it gets us confused and on the wrong track. Number 2 is lettuce, and there's tons of different kinds of lettuce. We have all these different ones. I don't even know what they're called, but the ones I use on a regular basis are romaine, and also some green leaf and some red leaf, and also what they sell as a spring mix. I love all of them. They have plenty of nutrients and fiber. You can make a huge bowl that is very filling, but it doesn't have a lot of carbs or a lot of calories. It's a great filler. I love salads. I have salads several times a week. You can use it as a snack. You can roll up little slices of cheese and ham in it. You can also use it for bunless burgers. That's what I do a lot. I just put a layer of lettuce on the plate I put my burgers on, and I load them the way that I would any other hamburger with lots of good stuff, but of course don't have the bread. And number 1 on the list is avocado, maybe the most perfect plant creation ever. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love that one, and if you truly want to master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, and turn on all the notifications so you never miss a life-saving video.